moving on to then the Rogue Mad Lions series, the fact that we get that as a first round matchup, that feels almost unfair. Now, thank goodness for the double elimination, because it'd be really, really tragic to see one of those two teams go this early. Mad Lions hit a little bit of a slump in the middle of the season, but then they really resurged at the right time. I know that one of our staffers is big on the El Yoya for Rookie of the Split hype train.
I'll blow this one for you.
And if the rookie class wasn't so strong, like, I mean, we knew there were going to be a lot of rookies, but there are a lot of guys that deserve a legitimate shout at this. And it's not that, like, I don't want to do a disservice to El Yoya, because he has been fantastic legitimately. But
he's been one of the best junglers in the league.
No, I think he's a top 5 jungler, zero argument. Because I think his consistency has also gotten better as the split has gone on. I think the transition to more of a ganking jungler has been not super clean for him, because I think he thrived on the Grazes, the Lilias, right? I mean, we talked about like that when we were doing the Rising Stars piece, that Pantheon game that he decided to bust out, because he just got that kind of confidence in himself as a playmaker and as a carry threat. But no, I mean, the rest of the team, they've started to re-gel. But Rogue, they are the second best team in Europe. I don't think anyone would argue that.
So good. Good.
We'll start at the top, because a friend of mine sent me this. With the he texted me this morning. He said Weak Side King Odoamne with the caption, "Get the F off my island." Ready for this? KDA best in the league, 7.2. CSD at 15 plus 10.6, best in the league. Goal difference at 15 plus 374, best in the league. Jungle proximity 6%, worst in the league. He's completely on an island. He is the king of that island. He is Gilligan.
Yeah.
Yep. You are not allowed. You have to have express permission from the king himself to set foot on the island. That's his top lane. Yeah. He enters any matchup. No, it's his top lane now.
It's
no matter what the matchup is. He could be playing like, I don't know, he could be playing like full AD Lux top lane, and you step into top lane. That's his top lane now.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't need his Q to do damage. It's just like,
if you need my drafting help at any point, then just let me know. I'm here for you.
Yeah, Meg's your expert draft queen here, ready to go. But yeah, no, Rogue is like one of the most altogether teams I've seen since G2, or like even like in terms of like straight dominance. Like, they are so put together at almost every single stage of the game, because we've seen teams that are really, really strong, but they excel in very specific areas. But Rogue, I think, are really good at multiple parts of the game. Whether it's a really good early game, they have one of the best early games in the league, I believe. And moving in, they know how to snowball leads, and they even know how to. And we saw that in the G2 game that they had, where they know how to play from behind really well too. And so, again, I said this in the beginning of the podcast, where I think that they have been the closest competitor to G2 and closest like contender to G2 that we've seen. And they just got better. They just keep getting better, straight up.
Okay, there's a question. Do you think that this Rogue is better than like immediately post Caps Fnatic? Like peak form Capsless Fnatic? Which do you think is better? Because that's been the thing, right? It's been Fnatic, like Capsless Fnatic versus G2 has been like the matchup for the past, I can't even remember how long. Do you think this Rogue is better than that Fnatic? Do you think they have more of a chance to like not get 3-0'd in the finals?
I think so. I think we've seen Rogue. Rogue has shown more resilience while behind, I think.
Yeah.
I think that when Fnatic gets behind against G2, it's kind of like a very snowball-y kind of thing, that when G2 gets ahead, it's over. Like, it's like one thing starts to happen after another, right? Whereas I think from what I've seen from Rogue, they are really good at what, like, it's like a G2 thing, where you know how if G2 is kind of behind, for example, in kills or something, they're getting they're getting like a tower on the other side of the map or another objective or something, and they're making sure they're staying with farm and keeping the gold close. Like, that's what Rogue is able to do. Even if they're like behind or something, they still find ways to find like to stay close with the enemy team to the point where maybe they can still take the lead with a team fight or something later down the line. And so I would say that Rogue is stronger than that Fnatic, because they are able to play from a they're able to play from behind a lot. I think better than them.
I think barely, only because I mean, look, G2 did still 2-0 Rogue this year. Let's not forget that. And but to your point, Tyler, I do think that the floor is a lot higher for this Rogue team. Like you said, they have been much more consistent. But it's kind of like in conventional sports where you need like a guy who's going to go out there and just get you a win, get you a play. Because like also to me, like peak Capsulus Fnatic was what we saw in the quarterfinal against Top Esports. That was when like everything was clicking. That was when that bottom lane, when Reckless and Hill is saying, we're just putting Jackie Love in the dumpster. Granted, Jackie Love and Yanja were not they were not who they should have been. We saw
not the games of their careers, we'll say.
No, but I don't know. Just to me, they, and maybe this is still some of my, I don't know if cognitive dissonance is even the right phrase, but some of the remnants from last year's Rogue of they will never outright lose, but if the game, like, it doesn't matter if the game goes longer and longer and longer, they will just get choked out.
They can't make, like, their key problem last year was, like, they struggled. They had all of the setup perfectly. Rogue's dragon control's always been, like, fairly phenomenal. Like, we saw that especially this split. They just kind of seemed to accrue dragons, like, out of thin air. But the thing that they struggled with last split was they couldn't make that final call. The, like, let's take everything that we have, put it in a nice, neat little package and use that to win the game. They couldn't, like, tie the final bow on the game that they'd set up perfectly. And they've definitely gotten better at that this year.
Yeah.
And they almost managed to pull it off in the game versus G2, where I can't remember if it was the first or the second game. I have a feeling it was the second, where Larson Zazir got like a triple kill in their base while G2 were trying to end the game. Yeah, I think it was the second one, where that was a moment where it was like the bow so nearly came together and they so nearly had a way back into that game. And that, like, it's amazing to see how much Rogue have changed in a year. And that makes me a lot more excited for how this matchup's eventually going to go.
I mean, Capsulus Fnatic, they do still have a best of 5 over G2, whereas Rogue do not. So, but again, that was also reckless G2. So, we'll see. I mean, final predictions on this one. Do you think 3-1 Rogue? I also heard a take that 3-1 is a coward's prediction.
I think it was Reckless that said that. It was on an episode of Euphoria where it's like you don't. How was it that he phrased it?
Like
you don't trust them enough to win outright, but you also don't think it's going to be close. I don't know. I personally don't agree with that because weird shenanigans can happen in draft.
Yeah.
And also, like, that's exactly what I think. Like, it's not even like a flame to Rogue. It's not that I don't trust Rogue. It's just Mad Lions are the 3 seed for a reason, and
Mad Lions are good.
Yeah,
like,
they are good. Like, I think they will take a game off Rogue, but I don't think it'll go to 5. I think they'll have like the one game because again, Rogue's fundamentals are so dang good, and Mad Lions are still a very young team. They swapped out young guys for young guys, and I think the experience of Rogue will win out. They could 3-0, but I wouldn't be shocked if Mad Lions took a game off them.
This is going to sound like a wild tangent, but bear with me for 1 second. Have you guys ever heard of a concept called Chekhov's gun?
Heard of it, but
you're gonna have to explain.
Basically, it's a literary concept where if a gun appears in the first chapter of a book, then that gun will be used to kill someone somewhere in the book. Now, how does this relate to esports, you may wonder. Here's what I'm thinking. That role swap game was not by accident. How, like, obviously we're not going to have Elyoya playing mid lane against Rogue in the playoffs because I don't think Mad are suicidal. But do you think there's any way in which that role swap game benefits them? Like, do you think that there is anything that they can take from that that's not just memes? Or do you think it is just like, it's the final game of the split, we'll have some fun with it?
I honestly think they were just running it down a little.
Like, does it give them any, like, weird drafting advantages where it's like, oh, well, Yoya might whip out the Kiana jungle even though it's trash?
I don't.
Yeah, if they're gonna whip out some weird stuff, I don't think it would be because of that game. I think it'd be stuff in like scrims or practices, and I don't know. Maybe I think a mental advantage might be in order that they kind of like were able to.
They hover the Malphite and Rogue are like, oh god, not again.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking we're just like in the G2 vein of conserving your energy, but to a lesser extent or maybe a different degree. That okay, it's the last game of the split. We're not just gonna keep burning out. We're gonna be like, hey, let's have some fun. Regardless of kind of maybe the other implications of things, which there's some stuff that we don't really know about, so we're not going to talk about that because we don't know. But that you have a bit of a you've let your foot off the gas a little bit in terms of unnecessary intensity. You're not spinning your wheels for its own sake. You're enjoying your accomplishments. The fact that you locked in an upper bracket seed and eventually the 3 seed did an extremely good split after a lot of people thought that this team was going to take a step back, but they are still the 3rd best team in Europe right now. They have put together consistency on a level that for every run that every one of these teams went on, where Fnatic looked like the 3rd best team, Schalke looked like the 3rd best team, SK looked like the 3rd best team, everyone looked like the 3rd best team in Europe at some point, but Mad Lions were slowly just putting together 2 in 1 week, 2 in 1 week, 2 in 1 week, 2 in 1 week. And so that deserves some, you deserve some credit for that. And I think that any sort of momentum that teams were carrying into the back half of the split, because you have a week break, I don't think will carry over quite as hard.
Right. Ultimately, I say 3-1-2. I think that Rogue, I think I'm pretty much echoing you. It's just their experience at the highest level is going to put them over these young guns. But I do think that these guys are talented enough to break it. I honestly think that like El Yoya is fucking good. Like he is super good. Like what other junglers are better than Jankos? Inspired. Who else would you say? Self-made?
Self-made on a good day.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Razork's up there for like 3rd or 4th best in the league.
Yeah. I think again, Razork on a good day. And he's been playing a lot better as a lady. Actually, I mean, he's kind of been consistent the whole split. Actually, just I think my perception of him is a little boom because Misfits were abysmal for 2/3 of the year. But
and the thing is that he's a huge part of why they're so successful. He has the highest kill participation percentage of any jungler this season, and so if they're going to succeed, it's going to be through him. It's going to be because of him. I think he's going to have to really, really pull like the stops out against Inspired and against that team. And I see that team taking 1 game easily and challenging. They're going to challenge Rogue in a way that not a lot of I think at least. They're going to challenge Rogue in a way that people won't expect, but I do think that Rogue's going to win based off of pure firepower. Their lineup is disgusting across the board.